Let's do this.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
everybody to another episode of Hook the Line, and it is finally here. What us Purdue fans, me as an Auburn fan, has been waiting for since like week 5, week 6. It is the college basketball season. It has finally arrived. Our teams can be good. We can get some results. A new slate, new season. Everyone is 0-0. Although, actually, technically, since I say this, teams are 1-1, 1-0, 0-1, like that. There's been a couple games, but in general, the season is just getting started. So we're going to be doing episodes on here talking through the season, talking about the best games, similar to how we do our college football stuff. We're going to be giving out picks. We're going to be talking through the best games. We're going to do some special segments talking about individual players, maybe some National Player of the Year conversations. And overall, just going to be having some fun watching some college basketball. How are you feeling, Yusko?
Yeah, I think this is arguably Purdue's biggest season, right? We need this as much as anybody. We need to get over the hump. You know, Final Four's in Indianapolis. We just gotta find a way to bring it home, right? And as far as the rest of the league goes, I mean, there's a lot of I would say there's a lot of talented freshmen, which is fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about this after the Philip Pete game. AJ DeBansto played well against Villanova. You're starting to see all these guys, even like Kyan Anthony played well for Syracuse. I don't know why he looked like a hooper. So that's a fun one. We'll probably end up talking about the NBA draft later on, way later on after we get a full picture of everything. But I'm excited, dude. Like you said, our teams are finally good. We can put football to the side a little bit, focus on what our schools are more known for, probably at the moment. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It is Purdue's year to lose. Come in number one ranked. Have everybody returning. Feels like they've been building for this year. Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, reaching their last year now. So as experienced as you can get, Purdue returns a lot of people, and we'll see who can challenge them. But I do feel like it is Purdue's to lose going
Yep.
into the season. So we're going to talk through today. We're going to do our Final Four prediction as it is the beginning of the season. There's only been a couple games played, so other than maybe Florida and Arizona, and then tonight, as we're filming this, it's Saturday, so or not Saturday, it's Friday. So tonight we've got Kansas and UNC that's playing. So those are really the only big games that are going on until you get into later in the week. So pretty early, pretty clean slate. We're doing this mainly based off just rosters, transfers you've had in. Haven't gotten to see a lot of these guys really explode on the court yet. We're gonna do our Final Four prediction. So with that being said, the way we're going to do this is you're going to go through your Final Four. You're going to have two Final Four teams, and then you're going to name your runner-up and then your eventual national champion. Um,
Ooh.
so I can start if you want and run through mine.
Let's hear it. Let's hear.
Yeah,
Yeah, just go ahead.
no, it's all right. Any questions about it, the way we're doing it, or
No, I got it. I'll
okay,
listen. Follow your lead.
cool. So, starting out. Final four, the first. So essentially, the way you've got the losers of the final four games, you'll list those off, and then you're going to name your runner-up and then your national champion, and
Got
that'll
it.
complete
Perfect.
the final four.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
So my first final four attendee in Indianapolis this year, by the way. So let's just remember that. A team that we actually did get to have some game film on, the Arizona Wildcats. I have them getting in right now, and I know it's a little bit bold. I think there's a lot of teams you could put that are maybe preseason ranked ahead of them. I think what I saw from that one sample size that we have, that Florida game, Koa Pete, beast of a freshman, is going to run this league, going to have just everything at his will. So he's a huge freshman, doesn't look like an 18-year-old kid playing out there like he's an NBA level player already. And then Jaden Bradley, we talked a little bit off the podcast about Jaden Bradley, how he's kind of a closer and stepped up in those big minutes. And I just think they're built to win. So finally done with the Caleb Love era of Arizona. We transition into a new, maybe younger era. And I really like what I saw from them. So other than that, that's kind of my reasoning behind Arizona. Now, the third one I don't have written down, actually. I'm just going off the dome here. I'm going UCLA.
Oh, okay.
There's a player on UCLA that I loved last year, and I love to specifically bet on his player props last year, and that's Donovan Dent. I think he is going to explode this year and show why he made that transfer to a Big Ten team and why UCLA is ranked the way they are. I don't know much of their other roster that they have in there, but I know that Dent carried a New Mexico team on his back to some big, big wins last year and just was able to take the college basketball world by storm, being one of the most proficient and leading scorers in the country. So I believe in what he can do. Now, for my national championship, for my runner-up, I have a familiar face in the picture, and that's going to be the Yukon Huskies and Dan Hurley, who it just feels like last year they struggled a little bit, and maybe a lot of that was due to they lost Klingon and they were replacing some pieces, kind of getting some new pieces in. Just seemed a little rough around the edges compared to that well-oiled machine that Yukon normally is. I think they're back to that now. They're returning Caravan again, who's going to be a star. They've got Solo Ball, who might be one of the best shooters in the country, just best scorers in general. They got Silas Demery, who came in from Georgia as a transfer, running in the guard position. He'll be very good as well. He had some turnover problems at Georgia, but I think Dan Hurley is a good enough coach to really coach that out of him. And overall, UConn's got the winning DNA, and I think they're going to be pissed about last year. They're going to make a run back to this year. And so that means that I have a rematch of when we were in school, the national championship of Purdue and UConn, and I have Purdue as the national champions. Can't really pick anything other than that right now. As a Purdue grad, as Purdue fans, it feels disrespectful for me not to pick Purdue, given that they have Fletcher Lawyer coming back, they have Braden Smith coming back, TKR coming back, arguably two All-Americans and those guys right there in Braden Smith and TKR. And then Fletch just lit it up, 8 threes in the first game. So the ceiling is national championship for them, and the floor should realistically be like a Sweet 16. So
Mm.
this team, if they can make it to the Final Four, they're in the Indianapolis with a home crowd behind them. Feels like things are trending in the right direction for them. So that's my Final Four.
All right. I like it. I like it. Gonna continue to harp on it. Big year for Purdue. I love the Natty Championship pick. I like the UConn backstory as well. I'll piggyback off that. I think UConn gets back to the Final Four. Right, this is an elite program now at this point. They ran into the national champions in the second round last year. So obviously a tough end of the season, but still they lost to the national champions, so can't really do much else besides that. But you harped on it a little bit. That was kind of a mini rebuild year, right? You bring in some new pieces, get a few transfers, try to put things together. And Solo Ball actually played really well. I think he's a good point guard to have, somebody that can both distribute the ball, shoot the ball, and then as well guard the primary defender. Then they bring in, a premier SEC talent, Silas Demery, who brings that intensity of the SEC to the Big East and to Dan Hurley's program, which I'm excited to see how he's utilized. I actually didn't really watch how they played in their first game against New Haven, but that game's not really going to tell you much, so it's fine. We'll obviously see how it goes down the line. But that's a good addition. And obviously they bring back Caravan, who has been here for it all. And he's really just a Swiss Army knife because he's just so tall and lanky, so he can defend, rebound, shoot, right? So another key piece that he's able to retain and work off of. So it's a big year for their bigs. I'm excited to see how Dan's going to utilize him because obviously Klingon and Sonogo were huge to their national championships. So that's a big question mark for me. But I think we do see the Big East back in the Final Four in Indianapolis. Hopefully Purdue does not have to run into them. But if they do, hopefully we'll get it done. I'm going to save Purdue for my national championship game. I don't think I'm going to do them dirty, but I do see them getting in there and playing on the home court of Indianapolis. But I think a Big 12 team gets in this year. I think we're starting to see a little bit of them come to life after Houston made it last year, all the way to the Natty. But I'm gonna go with a weird team. I don't know if Houston's gonna be able to put together a premier enough defense like they did last year. I don't know. Just they had a crazy like defensive efficiency like style year that kind of carried them throughout the year. I'm gonna go with Texas Tech. I like Texas Tech. That's a good team. I watched a little bit of their point guard play. What's his name? Christian Anderson, number 4. I know I don't really know his name, but I'm a Big Ten guy. Leave me alone. Christian Anderson played really well in their first game. I like the way he plays. We know guard play is huge in tournament play down the stretch. And he was like shooting deep threes. He was doing really well maneuvering pick and rolls and attacking the rim. They also have JT Toppin, who didn't play in their first game, but everybody knows him from last year's run. He's a really good player. So I'm excited to see them play. I think that's a really competitive conference that's going to mold some really good teams come tournament time. I know you mentioned Arizona. Obviously, they played really well on their first stage. They'll be a tough team to run through. Kansas, all the blue bloods that usually come out of that conference. But I'll stick with Tech just because I like that guard. I like Anderson. I think he played well. Um, I don't know. I think the ACC comes into play here. I think we do see another ACC team. They've now made a few runs at the Final Four. Duke obviously last year, NC State the year before that, and then Miami the year before that. Like they're consistently in the conversation, regardless of what people want to say about them. I'll say Louisville gets there. That's a weird one for me, but I don't think it's going to be Duke again. I like Louisville. They got a transfer guard, Ryan Conwell from Xavier. He's bounced everywhere. He's Xavier, I think Indiana State. He's been everywhere. But he's an experienced guard. Like I just said, you need that to win in March. They also brought over Isaac McNeely from UVA, just pure sharpshooter. So they got a bunch of guards, and I watched a little bit of them. They have a freaking huge German center that I just loved watching. I don't know why. Something like tickled me when I watched him because he was just like, not only was he like protecting the rim, obviously as a center should do, he's getting out and he's flashing in a pick and roll and getting back to guard the rim while he's protecting the 3-point line. So I like that. Hopefully they're able to string together an impressive season because that's another good conference that'll produce a number of tournament teams, hopefully. But then it comes down to the big one, and I'm gonna say and have them as my national champion, but I really, really, really don't want them to hurt me, and it might happen. But the Purdue Boilermakers are my national champion for preseason. I think that they're an absolute lock to get to the Final Four. I think that they're gonna run the table. I just think it's gonna come down to defense against the top 4 teams, right? Can you guard the best talent at the end of the year? Unfortunately, we didn't see that happen a few years back when we ran into Hurley's offense and all the weapons that he had. I mean, we couldn't stop anything against Cam Spencer and that team. Obviously, that team is a little bit different. We had Edie then and a bunch of other faces, but right. So it's gonna come down to, can Clough be the role that we need him to be? Can he come in, protect the rim, not get put in terrible situations that offensive masterminds put him in later in the year? Braden Smith's obviously a weapon on offense. He's going to play however many years in the NBA as a role guy, but can he defend in the big moments? Can Fletcher Loyer defend in the big moments? It's all going to be things we're going to find out, and I have no question, like I said, that they're going to get there. Can they get it done? Get over the hump? I'm praying. I'm hoping. And I have to say it. So, Natty Champs, Purdue Boilermakers in Indiana. So that's my recap, my prediction. I hope it happens. I need it to happen because this is the closest we'll be.
No, and it does feel like that. I mean, I know we made it to the national championship, and that run was amazing, and we had Edie. But I don't think we went into that or any year in school at all expecting to go to the national championship. This is the first year where I've really heard, whether it be our Purdue buddies or just people around the country, also just rally behind where it is like Purdue is the clear number one team. Like there was UConn that year was the clear number one team. It was kind of, is anybody going to be able to knock off UConn? Now it's going to be everyone's going to be headhunting Purdue. And that's the problem when you're the number one team is that you're going to get everyone's best punch on every given night. And when you are in situations like March Madness, where one loss sends you home, all it takes is somebody's best punch for the full entire 40 minutes and
Yep.
it can knock you out. So
Yep.
you got to just hope that Purdue can deliver back, that can stand up in the tough moments. And I do think you're right when you say it comes down to the bigs. Like Oscar Clough, Daniel Jacobson, they really got to be ready to take that step by the time it gets to March. I have faith that Painter will get them ready to be able to go into March and have confidence because you get Big Ten play. That's the good thing. Big Ten plays tough, but it also gets you ready for big games, big moments like March. So
Yep.
hopefully they're ready. We know the guard play is going to be great. We know that's not going to be a problem. But down low, just a couple question marks there. We don't have Edie like we did before, so we'll see. You talked about Texas Tech, I had three teams scribbled out before I decided on UCLA. They were Kentucky, Florida, and Texas Tech. So I actually really like that as well. Anderson, I think, put up 34 in that
Yeah,
first.
he hooped, man. That kid's gonna be an issue this year.
And
And
Toppin,
those,
if it weren't for Flag and Broom, could have been the National Player of the Year last year. I think people didn't realize the video game numbers he was putting up come later in the season. He put up 41 against
yeah,
Arkansas.
they're a team that lost to Florida too. So,
Mhm.
they ran into the national championship at the wrong time. So
Yeah. So in Florida, I mean, speaking of them, they're going to be back. Like
they're
they
gonna be
lost
in
to
the
Arizona.
conversation. Yep.
That that front court that they have of Thomas Hout and Alex Condon, like and Ruben Chinyelu, even down low, they return everybody. They're going to be tough to beat. They're kind of opposite of Purdue, in that Purdue returns their whole backcourt and confident in that. They return their whole front court, confident in that, but a new backcourt. So
Correct.
it's just
Yeah. We're gonna see. They're gonna be great down the stretch. They're gonna win plenty of SEC games. We saw in that first game, right, when the lights are bright, and you might run into the wrong team at the wrong time. And Toby Awaka, Koa Pete, those are some pretty bigs themselves. No pun intended. But can they continue the success? Can they get enough from these new guards to bring them over the hump? That's a good question. You mentioned Kentucky, another good team, right? So the SEC is going to be a competitive conference, and I mean they're probably going to have a team late that runs deep into March. Like they had two last year. I mean they're always in the mix, so I'm excited to see which one it is. Probably one of those two, honestly. So obviously Alabama is in the mix usually, but Tennessee also. So
Yeah,
great
Alabama's
competitive
always in
competition.
the mix. My question with Alabama is just always that, like, I don't know if Nate Oates is the guy who can consistently win against a bunch of different kinds of teams, like adjust his team enough to win late in March when you need to change the game plan from just chuck a bunch of threes and run fast. Because that's what it is. And normally they have the best athletes on the floor, so they can do it. But every once in a while, they'll run into a team that can out athleticize them or just ends up they don't have a good shooting night, something
Yep.
like that, and it burns them down late down the stretch. So they got to be able to win in multiple ways if they want to make it
Yeah,
far.
that's another team that's you need insane efficiency every single night to win, make a huge run in March, right? There's too much variance with that style of offense. We
Mhm.
saw make a Final Four, right? But then they run into the national champions who have premier defense, premier offense that can not only stop them, but they can score as well. So that's the style of team that's going to take to beat them. I know that they have a lot of roster turnover this year, right? So it's
Yeah.
going to be a
So, but they got
pretty
some
new
good
look.
guard play. They got
Yeah.
LeBron Philon coming
Oh,
back.
Phylon. Yep. Yep. So fun team to watch, kind of, if you like that style. It's like a Pacer style from last year. They just, get as many shots up as possible and blow the efficiency through the roof. But
Yeah.
all in all, should be a great year. And
Oh yeah. And
maybe we see some upsets this year. Some hopefully. I mean, last year was incredible in terms of that. So
I think we're set up for one of the largest parity years. This year in college football, we have so much parity. It's kind of the first full year of NIL being utilized completely and the transfer portal being really utilized completely, or at least letting a full cycle where everybody understands it and uses it. Turnover, and now we're going to get that in basketball this year. So I expect to see a lot of parity, a lot of teams that are competing that you may not normally think of, a lot of weird teams that have different styles. It's always fun to go down the stretch and see that. We've got some big games that are coming up from obviously today's Friday, and we've even got a big one tonight. Like we said, we got Kansas and UNC. And then Saturday through Tuesday, because we won't be doing an episode from then, we'll just go through. I'll just list off the best games from those days, and you can just tell me which ones you're excited about. There's a couple
all right,
ones that will be easier to talk about than some of the other ones, but we've got starting Saturday at 12 o'clock, hot start to the first Saturday of college basketball. We have Alabama at St. John's in Madison Square Garden. Already a banger off the rip. You got Vandy, UCF, another Power Four matchup. Then you got Arkansas going to Michigan State to play Izzo. That's always fun. Calipari versus Izzo, always a fun matchup. Then you got Oklahoma at Gonzaga. Gonzaga trying to bounce back after having a few years where I think it's fair to say they haven't performed as they want to. And then we finally get to see Indiana in action on Sunday. Indiana going to Marquette. That's going to be at 1 p.m. That's going to be a good game. Hopefully, IU is bad again, so we can just steamroll them in the rivalry this year, as they will probably do to us in football in the coming weeks.
it's a given.
Yep. And then we've got A&M at Oklahoma State, just another Power Four matchup. We'll see where A&M is at this year. I think they don't have Wade Taylor finally, so we'll see how that, how that works out for them. Then Washington at Baylor. I'm not sure who Baylor really brought in. I mean, they had VJ last year, and then they also had Rob Wright. And he's now left. I think he's at Duke, I want to say.
Hmm.
Is that right?
I actually don't know,
Rob
but
Wright. Anyways, he's good. That's gonna be there. Monday, just kind of got one game. Mississippi State at Iowa State. The only reason I wrote this one down, Josh Hubbard is electric, must see TV. So turn that on. That guy is so much fun to watch. Not sure if they'll win, but fun to watch. And Iowa State's a solid team. They were last year. Got bounced out early, but really good team. They had some injuries too that kept them from going far. Then on Tuesday, Super Tuesday is returning. As we know, for college basketball, always a fun day. You got FSU at Florida. Probably Florida's leaning in that one, but a rivalry nonetheless. Kentucky at Louisville, going to be a big one. We talk about names we just threw out for the Final Four. You had Louisville in your Final Four. We talked about Kentucky being a fringe team. That'll be a big matchup. Then, speaking on that note, Texas Tech at Illinois on Tuesday as well. Going to be a huge matchup with some juggernauts in their own conferences. Illinois always has a solid team. Normally goes the Eastern European route, so interesting to see what they have this year. And then Texas Tech, like we said, very good team. And then finally at 10 p.m. it'll end your Tuesday with Creighton at Gonzaga, which is just going to be a fun, fully basketball matchup. These schools know nothing but basketball.
absolutely. In terms of matchups, I'm probably going to tune into for the entirety of it. Obviously, I don't have much going on tonight, so I'll go with the Kansas and North Carolina game. That's going to be a fun one. That's two premier coaches going at it. Two kind of newer looking teams, I feel like, with a few transfers. A thing about this week is it's fun to look back on when we're down in March and like thinking about the non-conference games, but anything can really happen this week. I mean, this week was really bad for a Duke team that was I'm talking last year. Duke was, I think they lost to Kansas last year early on in the season. Yep. So like it kind of molds your team and fits them where you want to build off from there. So weird things can happen, and there's a few teams that might look completely different down the line after conference play. Other games I like. The Calipari Izzo matchup is just going to be basketball chess. That's going to be great to watch if you really like X's and O's. And then obviously Super Tuesday is just I'm so glad that that's back
Oh,
because that's just if you love the sport, you'll love Tuesday. And Kentucky Louisville is a great game. Those are two what we just said fringe Final Four teams, right? Those are that game's going to be huge to look back on, like I said, as well as Texas Tech and Illinois. Those two games are going to be fighting for screen time in my house. So that's all I got for week one. I mean, I'm excited to revisit these matchups when we talk again next week because we could be switching up our Final Four picks maybe because
yeah.
it's gonna tell us a lot.
That's normally how it goes. That's why they're predictions and they are not set to happen. So, we like to make them out. It's fun, but especially when it comes to college basketball, there are so many games, so many factors. It's just going to be a crazy season. I'm going to sit back, enjoy the ride, especially the less stressful ride up until we get to that March part where I have to pull my hairs out watching Purdue trying to climb out a pretty big win. So should be an exciting week and should be an exciting year. The non-conference schedule is really good this year. A lot of teams really decided to step it up in their scheduling. And then obviously we've got the Thanksgiving tournaments when those come around. Maui, Jim Maui,
Yes,
always good
yes, fire,
tournaments. So we'll talk
fire.
about all that in the coming
And
week.
those Maui tournaments tell us a lot sometimes. If you get a good team in a good tournament, some teams come out. Is that the stupid trend of like the top 12? I think it's more in December, but the top 12 teams, your national champions in there or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a factor. I mean, I know Auburn last year won the Maui Jim Maui
Yeah,
and then just was able to use that as an absolute bounce pad to the rest of the season where
yep,
it seemed like they just remained hot ever since they got a like last second winner against Iowa State and then just never looked back. So
correct.
sometimes you can get your season won and lost in those moments right there and just confidence boosters, all that. So we'll talk about all that in the coming weeks, but excited to talk college basketball every week now. We got college basketball, college football. Things are heating up in the sports world. NFL getting towards the later part of the season here pretty soon, where we're going to start to know the playoff picture a little bit more. So everything's coming together. This is the best time, in my opinion, to be a sports fan. And if you are a sports fan and you want a podcast to listen to, make sure you tune in to us every week. Football, basketball. Sometimes we get NFL picks, like our last episode on football. You
we
name it.
do we do it all here.
Yeah.
We
So,
showed up in hockey jerseys, man. We cover it all. We're the ESPN of fish podcasts.
yeah. So once again, let us know your final four down below, and we appreciate everybody who's watching. And thank you very much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. So we will see you all on sometime next week. All
There you go. See
right.
ya.
Peace.